Whether you are a beginner, experienced individual, or advanced professional in the IT career, we realize you come with different motivators and different fears. So for example, if you're a beginner, you might have the motivator of finding that new job, finding that new career, better stability. Whereas your fears might range from the learning curve in IT to not being able to do the job to perhaps a bad boss. Whereas those of you who are experienced, your motivators and fears range differently. Your motivators being in IT might range from finding that meaning of work to getting a career raise and or finding better career development and promotion. And your fears might even range from assuring that you can afford a home, fear of being stuck in a job, or just flat out burnout. And then if you're advanced, maybe somebody who's been in the career field for longer than 5 years in IT, your motivators might be ensuring that you find that meaning of work with job satisfaction and public recognition, whereas your fears might range from fear of being replaced by automation to somebody younger or just not getting enough money to save for retirement. And so we recognize all those motivators and fears that you might have. So let's continue. Welcome to Dr. G and Technology. In this video, I'm going to go over the 5 steps to grow and monetize your IT career. At the end of the video, I'll also go over and answer how much you can make working in IT, which is a proverbial question that I get asked quite a bit. And I'm also going to answer at the end of the video some salary negotiation tips that will pay in IT. So let's get started. What's our goal here with Dr. G and Technology? Well, our mission is to establish an IT community for both experienced professionals as well as individuals who are looking to transition into the technology industry. And our desire is really to help create valuable skills for you so that you can grow your career and ultimately monetize your value and your skills. So a little bit about me. I started as an IT intern. Everybody has to start somewhere, working for the financial industry, and had a lot of different jobs working in IT, and eventually worked my way up to become a chief data officer, and including becoming a full-time IT professor. And in that time, I've racked up a lot of skills, technology skills, leadership skills, and did so over the span of about 25 years. So now I want to impart that knowledge over to you so that you can create valuable skills and grow your career, as we mentioned. So let's go over those 5 steps to grow and monetize the value of your IT career. Before we do so, remember to click the subscribe button as well as click the bell so that you're alerted anytime we launch a new video. We certainly want to create that relationship with you and keep that going. So 5 skills, 5 steps to monetize those skills. What are they? Number 1, first and foremost, do your research. In other words, we want you to align your current skills with the skills of an IT job that you desire to go into. So if you're transitioning, let's just say, out of one industry and coming into the IT industry, you want to kind of say, what are my strengths and weaknesses so that I can figure out a potential position I can go into. So if you have a lot of administrative skills, as an example, you can certainly kind of look for the skills in IT that might require some administration, such as system administration or some analysis skills, right? Secondly, you want to close the gap, is what I call it, meaning educate yourself. If you're in the field already or you're transitioning into IT, no matter what, your skills are going to want to grow as you progress up the ladder in IT. To close the gap, you really got to educate yourself. What does that mean? Industry certifications, going for degrees in technology, going to seminars, going to workshops, and anything else that you can do to get your hands on reading, current reading, that might progress you in the desired area. There's a lot of subsectors in IT, such as cloud, data, networking, and so you kind of want to search on what are some of the websites, journals, etc. that you can latch onto and close the gap in terms of your skills and education, and get yourself a bit smarter about that specific part of the industry. Number 3, target. So I always say to target and identify both the industry you want to work in technology, right? So that might be like the financial industry, the oil and gas industry, and what have you. And then target specific companies in that industry regarding, let's just say oil and gas, for example. Maybe you want to go work in IT for a specific company in oil and gas. And so you want to really target those companies and see what are the jobs that they have. What are the skills that they're requiring? And that will help you further your research and further your ability to close the gap. And so you can understand what skills you need to bring to the table to help you monetize and grow your career. Number 4, connections. I think this one's probably the most important method to grow your IT career. You know, as they say, it's not what you know, it's who you know. While the first 3 steps we talked about was a bit about what you know, step number 4 is who you know. One of the things I highly recommend is to get on LinkedIn. That is the social platform for business, right? LinkedIn is now owned by Microsoft at the time of this video, and so it's really powerful. There are a lot of people on LinkedIn. I've included my LinkedIn account, so you can link into me and with me up in the header of the YouTube channel. And it really pays to grow your social network in the business realm. And so I highly advise that you try to find people, influential people that you think you want to follow on LinkedIn. Specifically look for their job titles, again, where they work, what they do, and connect with them. Usually when you reach out for a connection, they will almost always agree to connect with you and establish a relationship thereafter. And number 5 is to grow and offer your skills by volunteering and or reaching out to those connections. So as an example, if you're transitioning into IT and you have no skills yet or don't have any experience, you can always ask to volunteer. There are a lot of different organizations who need IT individuals, right? And so it's not too difficult to look out there and just go knock on some doors, right? It could be some nonprofits, and start figuring out a way to grow your skills by seeing what they need. Maybe you're good at computer repair, maybe you're good at website design, and that would be one way to do it. One way I grew my career is by always looking at the next department that I wanted to move into, or the next area of technology that I wanted to move into, and I would ask and request that I be put on those types of projects, so that I can grow my career by taking ownership of where I wanted to go next and who I wanted to work with next. So you really got to spend some time to grow yourself by looking for different skills and opportunities, even if it means starting out by volunteering and or looking next to the next department or type of technology you want to work within. So those are the 5 steps to grow and monetize the value of your IT career. Let's just review. Number 1, do your research and align your current skills with the IT skills that you're going to need. Number 2, close the gap. Educate yourself on what skills you're going to need next. And how do you know that? Is by going with number 3. Target the industry and or the company you want to work for. Look for the jobs that they are hiring for, and then look for the skills in that job that you're going to need to do that specific job. Number 4, establish connections. It's again not what you know, who you know, and it really is quite the mixture. But as your career grows, you want to grow that network. And number 5, grow yourself by offering your skills voluntarily if you're just getting into the industry and you need to start establishing some skills. Or if you're already in the IT industry, start looking at the next set of technology departments you want to work within and start asking to work on those types of projects so that you can continue and grow your skills. So hopefully those 5 work for you. Now on to the next big question in terms of how much can I make working in IT? I get that question a lot. I've seen that question, quite often over the internet. And while as much as I want to say that it depends, and it really does to a degree, know these simple facts. first and foremost, and this comes from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, employment in the computer and information technology occupation is projected to grow by about 11% in the next 9 to 10 years. That's much faster than the average for all occupations. What does that mean? Well, it means that there are more jobs out there than there are of IT specialists and IT professionals. That's great news for you and I. And so how much can you make? Again, this will come down to your background, your education, your experience, and your connections like we just talked about. So let's define 3 roles here so that we can kind of categorize how much you can make. And we'll define these 3 roles at a really high level of somebody being a beginner, someone being experienced, or someone being a leader. By beginner, I mean somebody who is transitioning into the IT industry field, maybe with no IT experience, and maybe they have at least one IT certification, possibly an associate's degree, and they're looking to align their current skills with IT, right? So this is just kind of your newbie person trying to crack into the IT industry. That's the beginner. The experienced person will be somebody who has about 1 to 5 years of IT experience. By now, they probably have a bachelor's degree, maybe at least another certification, and as a possible rule of thumb, they're probably mentoring someone else, like a beginner, for example. And then lastly, a leader. This is someone who's in a leadership role going beyond mentoring, but they are the person who others look for advice, estimates. They may be managing other IT professionals. And usually by now, their education level is probably that of somebody with a master's degree in an IT field, as an example. And so this kind of person probably has multiple certifications as well. And so they have a good, strong mixture of skills, but they also were at one point someone who was a beginner, moved into more of an experienced role, and then became a leader. So let's break this down. How much can a beginner make based on our loose definition here in IT? Well, again, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, it's somewhere between $35,000 and $77,000. Now that's a wide range. What are some example jobs of somebody who is a beginner? Well, it could be a help desk technician, could be a computer programmer, possibly a computer support specialist, an IT tester, or an IT intern. I have held all of those jobs at one point in my life and did well and moved on. But I didn't have all those skills initially. It just takes a lot of hard work to kind of grow your skill little by little through all the means and methods that we've mentioned earlier in the video regarding the 5 ways to grow yourself. Next up, the experienced professional. This is the IT professional who's been in the industry maybe 1 to 5 years. What can they make? Well, the range is somewhere between $77,000 and $110,000. And again, this is coming from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. What are some example jobs of somebody who is experienced? Again, this varies, but for the purposes of our discussion today, positions in that salary range could be software engineer, systems analyst, system administrator, possibly a cybersecurity analyst, a database administrator, and possibly a UX or UI designer, that'd be user experience, user interface designer, and many other positions that fall into an experienced type of professional. I've held many of these jobs as well over the years, and certainly grew my skills little by little based on where I started in the beginner phase of the various positions I held. So that's the experienced professional. What about the leader, right? This is somebody who's likely been in IT over 5 years, and they may be managing other people. So the range here is about $110,000 on up, right? On up just really depends on the industry, their actual skill level, how much responsibility they have. In some cases, there could be management bonuses, etc. So what are some example jobs of a leader in IT? Well, an architect is typically someone who's a leader, who's kind of already been through the beginner experience phases. Cybersecurity engineer as well. Data scientist, a really hot field at the moment. An IT manager, right? If you've got some good skills in management, this is perfect for you. Artificial intelligence developer, yet another skill to potentially have. And cloud engineer. Cloud's always growing, will always be there. So there you have your range of from beginner, experienced to leader in the various job classifications that we've mentioned, and the potential salary range of how much you can make in IT. Again, a lot of that really just depends on your own experience, and that data again was from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. But you can certainly do your own research out there and see what works for you, especially those of you who are coming from international markets, and what the salary range might be for you in your respective countries. The next logical question after this might be, well, how do I improve my negotiation skills to be able to make that money, right? So you've gone from growing your skills, like we talked about at the beginning of the video, to what the ranges are and being a beginner experienced leader, to now, how do I actually monetize my value? And that comes with negotiating. To answer this question about negotiation skills, I always say that you have to answer for yourself first. Do you need the job? Do you want the job? And or do you want a higher salary? Before you start negotiating, you have to answer which one of those three are you attempting to pursue. So rule number one, right? You never put the number out there first. If a recruiter asks, how much are you willing to be paid? You really want to turn the question around and ask them, what's the salary range for this position, so that you have a better idea. And you'll get to know what this is, kind of like we just went through some salary ranges with my source that I talked about. But you want to do your own research and see if you can find the salary range for perhaps for that specific company. And this will give you a much better view of where you think you fall, right? So if you need the job, you want to go with the lower number. If you want the job, maybe you go somewhere in the middle. And if you're experienced and you want to get a raise, go for a higher salary, well then go for broke and ask for that higher number in that salary range that the recruiter gives you, right? That's why it's so important to ask, do you need the job? Do you want the job? Or do you want a higher salary? And you're asking this of yourself so that you know how to negotiate. Rule number two, right? So if the recruiter asks, are you interviewing anywhere else? And even if they don't ask that question, the answer is yes. And you want to signal yourself with this one, because it tells the recruiter that if you are interviewing somewhere else, that your skills are scarce, right? We know there's more jobs out there than there are IT professionals. And it signals to them that somebody else may snatch you up. The signal to yourself is that you should be looking at not just one company or one position, but multiple companies, multiple positions. And if you're lucky enough to where that recruiter wants to hire you for the salary you're demanding, well, then you're good to go. And that's a great rule of thumb if you get asked that question, if you're looking elsewhere, and the answer is yes. Lastly, rule number three, when negotiating, always assume to know what the salary range is and go in with the expectation that you want to be in a certain place on the sliding scale. So for example, if a position pays somewhere between, let's just say a leadership position, between $145,000 and $160,000, and they offer you the lowball end of $145,000, and you really want $150,000, well, ask them for more. Ask them for $155,000, because through the process of negotiation, they're going to go low, you're going to go high, and hopefully somewhere in the middle you will meet. I do this every time, and I usually know the number that I'm trying to get is not the number I'm asking for, but it's a little bit lower than what I'm asking for, but it's definitely more than what their initial offer was. So it's a great negotiating tactic to always think about what that's going to be, the back and forth of salary negotiation, and set your expectations accordingly. And that does it. I hope you enjoyed this video. To join our community, click on the community link. As well, if you'd like to receive this download for free that answers how much can I get paid in IT and what are negotiation skills, click over there on the free download link and we'll be happy to send this to you.